Good evening and welcome to Farmington Hills General Session for City Council. This is September 14th and it's 7:30. We begin all of our meetings with a roll call.
Pledge of allegiance.
Oh, Pledge allegiance, sorry. Pledge allegiance first.
All right.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Now roll call.
Mayor Barnett, we'll note, is absent. Council members Bullaware. Here. Bridges.
Here.
Bruce.
Here.
Massey.
Here.
Newland.
Here.
And we'll also note that Council member Knoll is absent.
Now I need a motion to approve the session agenda. Councilmember Massey?
Thank you. I would move that we approve the agenda as written.
Support. Thank you. Councilmember Bridges?
All in favor?
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. For those opposed? And it passes.
Okay. Next item.
Next item is administration of oath of office to Mayor Pro Tem Randy Bruce.
Sit right there.
Thank you.
Sit right there. Here. Okay, name tag. Where's your name tag? Where's your name tag?
All right. Very good. First up, I'd like to thank outgoing Mayor Pro Tem Mary Newland for a great job this past year. Thank you very much for your efforts. All right, moving on to agenda item number 3, introduction of new Communications Director Vicki Sullen-Wynn. Mr. Beckton, do you want to introduce that?
It'd be my pleasure. After a very long and detailed employment search and a posting for a newly created position of our Communications and Community Engagement Director, we were finally and very fortunately able to procure Vicki as a new employee here in the city of Farmington Hills. There were many qualified candidates. Vicki just, what can I say, really blew us away with her talent, her experience, her relatability in light of the things that we really needed. And so with that, I'm very happy to introduce Vicki Sullen-Wynn as our new employee, as our Communications and Communication Director. And I'm sure Vicki can expand upon her experience for City Council. So welcome.
Good evening, Mayor Pro Tem and Council. I am so pleased to be here this evening. And as Gary mentioned, my background actually lends itself perfectly to this role. I have worked for the city of Detroit in the health department. I've worked for public relations firms where my accounts were the city of Flint as well as Southfield, Michigan. Also bring an advocacy background, having worked for United Way for Southeastern Michigan. And so I've worked in nonprofits, corporations, and my background began in television communications. So I'm hoping to bring, no, I intend to bring all of that experience to bear in helping to create a more informed and engaged community. So thank you for having me.
Thank you very much. Very happy to have you here. Sure, Mr. Bridges.
Thank you. I just wanted to say welcome to Farmington Hills.
Thank you.
We never have had a communication director, and I think that we look forward to your expertise in helping the city to fashion our image externally and also internally. So we appreciate your background, and we look forward to your success in your new role, okay?
Thank you.
Welcome.
Thank you again.
Okay, thank you. All right, item number 4, proclamation recognizing November 26, 2022 as Small Business Saturday. And Mr. Bridges, I think you have that one.
Yes, I do. Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem Bruce. Proclamation for Small Business Saturdays, November 26, 2022, whereas the City of Farmington Hills celebrates our local small businesses and recognize that they create jobs, boost the local economy, and help to preserve our community. Whereas according to the U.S. Small Business Administration, there are 32.5 million small businesses in the United States. That represents 99% of all firms with paid employees, are responsible for 64% of net new jobs and create 1.5 million new jobs annually. Whereas small business sales have reached 80% of pre-pandemic levels, but as our lives have largely returned to normal, the economic effects among the smallest of small business still lingers. Whereas consumers who shop on Small Business Saturdays are making a conscious commitment to support small, independent-owned businesses and make purchases with a positive social, economic, environmental impact. Whereas for every dollar spent at local small businesses, an average of 67 cents stays in the community, so consumers should shop or eat at independently owned businesses and purchase gift cards for local businesses, not just during the holiday season, but year-round. Now, therefore, be it resolved that Vicki Barnett, Mayor of the City of Farmington Hills, on behalf of City Council, do hereby proclaim November 26, 2022 as Small Business Saturday and urge our residents to support small businesses annually on the Saturdays after Thanksgiving and throughout the entire year. I think we have Susan.
Ms. Arlen, come on up. Would you like to say a few words? Yes, please. Thank you. Yes, please. Thank you.
Greetings, and thank you for this proclamation. I cannot begin to explain how important it is to our small businesses that they receive the support of city management and city council the way that we do here in the city of Farmington Hills. So on behalf of our small business community here in the city of Farmington Hills, as well as the Greater Farmington Area Chamber of Commerce, I thank you for this. And I encourage you to continue to take this forward also the way that you do when you attend the events that the Chamber has. We have 2 ribbon cuttings this week alone for brand new businesses opening their doors in the city of Farmington Hills. Your presence is noted, it is respected, and it is a continuation of this proclamation, the way that you support our businesses. So thank you very much for this.
Thank you for your efforts. Appreciate it. All right, item number 5, proclamation recognizing November 2022 as Native American Heritage Month, and I believe, Ms. Newland, you have that proclamation.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you.
Thank you.
I will also apologize. There's some words here that I'm probably going to not do well with. So, proclamation for Native American Heritage Month, November 2022. Whereas Native Americans are a diverse group of people with a rich and multifaceted system of governments, languages, religions, values, and traditions. And whereas Michigan is home to 12 federally recognized Indian tribes, which are sovereign governments that exercise their own direct jurisdiction over their members and their territory. And whereas Michigan has several significant Native American cultural sites, including the Zeebiwing Center for Anishinaabe Culture and Lifeways in Mount Pleasant, the Bessemer Museum for Northwest Michigan in Alpena, the Andrew J. Blackbird Museum in Harbor Springs, and the Potawatomi Heritage Center in Wilson. And whereas we have a rich past and a bright future thanks to the varied contributions of the many tribes that have lived in Michigan, including our state's 3 largest tribes, the Ojibwa, also called Chippewa, the Ottawa, also called Ottawa, and the Potawatomi, also called the Bowadis. And whereas Native Americans continue to be influential in all areas of life in Michigan, including government, business, the arts, medicine, education, law enforcement, and military. And whereas Farmington Hills represents a place where diverse people from all backgrounds live and work together, giving us opportunities to honor our differences and celebrate our similarities. Now therefore be it resolved that Vicki Bardette, Mayor of Farmington Hills, on behalf of City Council, do hereby proclaim November 22 as Native American Heritage Month in Farmington Hills and urge all citizens to learn about Native American heritage and culture and to celebrate the vast contributions of the first Americans.
Thank you. I don't think we have anybody accepting that. Do we, Mr. McShin? No. Oh, do we? Joe? Okay, very good. Thank you.
But I do want to say something
Yes, Ms.
as a
Boulware.
Native American. Thank you. I'd like to thank council for this proclamation. I'm a member ancestor of the Muskogee tribe, which is part of the Seminole Nation. And thank you for this. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Valentine?
Yeah.
Thank you, Council. Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem Bruce. First time I get to say that. As you know, this month is a time to celebrate the rich and diverse cultures, traditions, and histories, and to acknowledge the important contributions of Native people. Heritage Month is also an opportune time to raise a general awareness about the unique challenges Native people have faced, both historically and in the present, and ways in which tribal citizens have worked to conquer these challenges. As a growing diverse community and organization, I thank you for your acknowledgement of this cultural important recognition. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, now, moving on to correspondence. Does anybody have any correspondence that they would like to report? Okay, very good. Next item on the agenda is the consent agenda. All items listed under consent agenda are considered routine, administrative, or non-controversial by the City Council and will be enacted by one motion. There will be no separate discussion of these items unless a council member or citizen so requests, in which event the item may be removed from the consent agenda for consideration. And Mr. Bridges, would you like to read the consent agenda?
Yes, sir. Item number 7, recommend approval and award of bid for firework display for July 6, 2023 celebration to pyrotechnical fireworks in the amount of $35,000 CMR 1122-104. Item 8, recommend approval award of proposal for as-needed city office furnishing to Smart Business Source for 1 year with extensions CMR 1122-105. Item 9, recommend approval of award of bid for firefighter personal protective equipment for a period of 1 year to Phoenix Safety Outfitters and Conway Shield with extensions. That's CMR 1122-106. Item 10, recommend approval of agreement for police vehicle accessories to Winder Police Equipment in the amount of $37,660.75. That's CMR 1122-107. Item 11, recommend approval of crisis communication services with Lambert Global in the amount not to exceed $40,000. That's a CMR 1122-108. Item 12, recommend approval of City Council study session meeting minutes of October 24, 2022. Item 13, recommend approval of City Council regular session meeting minutes of October 24, 2022. And item 14, recommend approval of City Council special meeting minutes of October 27, 2022.
Thank you very much. Is there a motion? Dr. Massey?
Thank you. I would move approval of the consent agenda, items 7 through 14, as read by Councilman Bridges.
I'll second.
Second by Ms. Newland. Any other discussion? All those in favor, oh, no, it's a roll call vote?
Yep, thank you. Council members Boulware,
Yes.
Massey,
Yes.
Newland,
Yes.
Bridges,
Yes.
and Mayor Pro Tem Bruce.
Yes. Thank you. Okay, now moving on to public questions and comments. You will have 5 minutes if you wish to speak on any item not on the agenda. So I will open up the public comments section. If you'd like to speak, step forward.
Now it's on. Good evening, council. Good evening to the new mayor pro tem,
Thank you.
city attorney, the manager, and our esteemed clerk, Ms. Pam Smith. On Saturday, I was at the Harrison Hawk Center for a forum that talked about police dynamics with African Americans. And the question that was posed is, what does community policing mean to you, and is it a buzzword? I'm African American, Black, white, and American Indian, as you are Indian. The concept of this meeting was great, but I'm concerned about the fact that you're asking, what can the Farmington Hills Police do to make African Americans feel better in terms of policing? But this group did not have my police chief or the Farmington chief on the panel. That they were reduced to, in my mind, answering questions from the audience like they were just there attending. But you're asking a question about policing in this community. They should have been on the panel. Everybody that was on the panel had some wonderful things to say, but I was concerned about why was a former sheriff on the panel. And I do understand, because he was African American, he could speak to some of the inequities in terms of policing African American people. And then there was another current captain from the Wayne County Sheriff's Department. I'm not sure that connection and why he was there, but he had a lot of stuff to offer that was really good. And I noticed that when I got up and asked the question, my question was, yes, we know that there are some bad police officers. We know that those cops don't take their oath to protect and serve seriously. We do know that we need a local, county, state, and a national registry for bad cops. It's something that I've been talking about for many, many years, and I discuss it on the radio if you ever hear PG talk. I put it in all of my comments. But what really got me, that just almost insulted me, because I said that people, whether you're Black, white, Latino, whatever race, you have to at some point in time be accountable for your behavior. Do we know that there's a policing problem? Yes. But we also know that there's a behavioral problem. Now, if we're talking about all these things that the police could do to police better, my question was, what can we do to be better people, to not put ourselves in a position where we have to encounter law enforcement? And one of the people on the panel that looked like me felt that I had a problem being Black, that I was turning on my people. Now, let me just say this, and I'm sure those members are listening. I said I'm Black, white, and American Indian. I have a Black father who's deceased. I have Black brothers. Some of them are deceased. My grandfather, great-grandfather, they were Black and Indian and white. So for you to say, because I asked the question about our behavior accountability, that I had some issues being Black, or I hate my own people, shame on you. Maybe you should shadow me for a month to see what I do, and you would offer an apology. And I'm not going to call the guy's name out. You know you said it. You're probably watching. It was a great concept, but it turned into, why I don't go to a lot of them is because it turned into some kind of anger. I can hear you better when you're speaking as opposed to when you're yelling and talking. And I lost a lot of the points. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I think we also have a couple of blue slips, one from Corbin Miller. Ms. Miller?
Hello, my name is Corbin Miller. I was here to talk about the number 6, the zoning change.
Oh.
So I am a property owner and
Then you want to just wait till that item comes up? I thought you were just here for like general comments, so when that item comes up, then you can come back up and speak when there's public comments on that. Thank you. And Dixon Tyson, I think, is not in the, oh, is he?
He's all set.
He's all set? Okay, great. Anybody else for public comments? Seeing none, I'll close the public comments section and bring it back to council member comments and announcements. Dr. Massey.
Thank you. I just wanted to compliment Special Services, the Department of Special Services. They put on annually our Stars and Stripes celebration to celebrate our veterans. And found one interesting little factoid is that this city, just the city of Farmington Hills, has 3,500 veterans or veteran-affiliated, maybe active military. It's a large part of our, and what was wonderful, it's a great celebration, and I know that all of us have been to these and have had the opportunity, but I just wanted to thank Special Services for doing that and recognizing people that gave so much. And that the least we can do is to recognize that, recognize their sacrifices, and thank them with a lunch and a special program. So kudos to Special Services.
Thank you. Anybody else? All right, very good. Now we'll go to the city manager for the city manager update.
Thank you. Good evening, council. So just a few notes of points of note here. Monday, November 21st at 7 p.m., the Farmington Hills Police Department will host a neighborhood watch meeting for residents and neighborhood watch groups right here in our city council chambers. Our annual holiday lights ceremony will be held here again on the City Hall campus Tuesday, December 6th at 6:30 p.m. And of course, it's that time of the year again, so this is my favorite topic. I think I say this every year. Yard waste pickup will end this year on our regularly scheduled pickup day during the week of December 12th to the 16th. So hopefully everybody puts that on their calendar and doesn't end up having to hold their yard waste through the winter. And then for council, city council's note, please hold the date for our joint tri-meeting with the city of Farmington and our Farmington Public Schools. That will, it's tentatively scheduled for January 25th at 6 p.m. Again, that's January 25th at 6 p.m. Okay, that's all. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. Now, moving on to item number 6, new business, consideration of approval of amendment to consent judgment number 54 for the property located at the southwest corner of 14 Mile Road and Farmington Road. And Charmaine. Yeah.
Good evening.
Good evening.
For those at home, I am Charmaine Kettler-Schmaltz, the Director of Planning and Community Development, and I've got some information for the council regarding the item before you tonight, an amendment to consent judgment 54 in order to allow the construction of a 7-foot-high vinyl fencing in lieu of a masonry wall. That location, let me give you a little spot, is the southwest corner of 14 Mile and Farmington Road, adjacent to the Pineview Office Center. That location was entered into a consent judgment in 1972 with the previous owner to establish the office use that you see today. The consent judgment required a 6-foot-high masonry wall along that southern boundary, not closer than 40 feet, not less than 40 feet along that property boundary in order to accommodate an extensive green belt of plantings. Over the years, that masonry wall has deteriorated and fallen down in several segments. The current owner is seeking relief from replacement of that masonry wall. They would like to replace it with a 7-foot-high commercial vinyl fence to match the one that's along the west property line, which is 8 feet in height currently. So the adjacent homeowners association, Heritage Hills, was contacted by the management company on behalf of the property owners. They do not object to this proposal for the 7-foot-high fence that is included in your packet materials. So in cooperation with the city attorney's office, an amendment to the consent judgment has been written and is before you this evening. That includes all required maintenance of that property for the new fencing, the green belt, and access into the area in order to properly maintain that. I understand that we do have a resident with us this evening that wanted to speak on that, but if there are questions prior to, I'll be happy to.
Any questions?
Mayor, I just want
Yes,
to let
Mr.
you know.
Bridges.
Yes, I just want you to know that I do live in that subdivision.
Okay.
I want the city attorney to know that I live in that subdivision there. So is it okay to me to vote on this issue, city attorney?
Yes, I believe it would be. This is affecting the community at large as well as that subdivision, so it's a consent judgment for all the properties involved, I think.
Thank you for your guidance. Appreciate it.
Yes.
Thank you. All right, if no one else, I do think that now is the time for Mr. Miller to come on up and speak to us about the wall or the fence.
Yes, hello. So I am a property owner affected by this wall that fell. I do have concerns over the wall replacement. So when I purchased the property, there was a brick wall that ran along the property separating the residential area. And when it fell over a year ago, I was the one that contacted the city after waiting some time to see what was going to happen. And after a handful of communications, I was informed that the wall had to be replaced and that it would be brick based on the zoning or the documentation. After that, I didn't really hear anything. It went from spring through summer. I left some messages with the city to get an update over the past year, and then received a letter from the office building back in February. I do not have an option to disagree with it. It just said agree and sign, so I did not sign. And then I then contacted the city again and received that this meeting, so last Thursday I found out that this meeting was happening and decided to show up. So I understand that the HOA authorized the vinyl fence. They did not contact me. They did not talk to me. And then the city did not notify me that any decision had been made either. And I wasn't notified of any decision by any party. So I wanted to be known that I'm kind of upset with how the communication went. And, but I also feel that it's been over a year that the wall has fallen. And in order to get anything in a timely manner, I feel like I don't really have an option to request a brick wall, or depending on what the decision is made here today. So I just want the decision to be made and that the wall be built quickly or constructed quickly. I prefer the brick wall, which is why I did not sign the letter that was sent to me. But if you do approve the change to a vinyl fence, I just ask that it be built as soon as possible. And if it does not get approved, that the masonry wall also be built as soon as possible. That's all.
Thank you very much. All right. I'll bring you, yes, Dr. Mr. Chopping.
Just very briefly, I can't really speak too much to the communication, but part of the history here, this is a consent judgment that goes back to 1972 when the city wasn't even a city. It was a township at the time. And this was a negotiated settlement of a court case regarding the development of this property in 1972. The brick wall was built at some point. As mentioned, it got deteriorated, started falling down, and the city commenced enforcement action in the district court. Okay, so There was a period of time that this was involved in district court proceedings that sometimes take some time, and in the context of those court proceedings, the city negotiated with the office center regarding this option, and the request came up as an option. Could they build a vinyl fence instead of the brick wall that would match the vinyl fence that's on the other property line that is perpendicular to 14 Mile, as you can see up there. It runs that property line, so it will generally match that other fence, and it'll be vinyl, and as part of those negotiations and discussions, there was outreach to the homeowners association, and I think our impression was that the homeowners association was going to be communicating with the residents within the homeowners association. So I think that's where, and I don't know if Ms. Kettler-Smolt has any further information on that, but I think perhaps that's where the communication gap may have occurred with the gentleman who's here this evening.
Thank you. Ms. Schmaltz?
It is disappointing if he wasn't contacted directly, if he'd left messages with my office. As you know, I'm fairly new in my role. I will follow up with staff when I get back to the office tomorrow morning. It is standard understanding that if there's a homeowners association involved, that they will be in communication with their membership on a regular basis. And I can understand why there may have been a miscommunication with this particular resident, but I will follow up on that tomorrow.
Just make a comment.
Mr. Bridges?
Yeah, going forward, can we find a way to ensure that that takes place? Because I was under the impression that any type of action, zoning decision or issues regarding this type of situation, there would be the what do you call it, the number of feet
It's
will reach certain, mailing will go out to a certain level of people regarding a certain sphere. Is that true or not?
only when there's a public notification requirement, only when there's a public notification requirement per law, and in a consent judgment, there is not that standard.
Yeah, I would think that we probably should revisit that, make sure that the homeowner association does give prospective residents an opportunity to be informed regarding an issue like this going forward if possible.
I understand.
Thank you, appreciate that.
Just to clarify, where is the current vinyl fence at?
Oh,
The existing?
along the
Is that
western boundary
On the
of
western, is
property?
that between the parking lot and those homes, those 5
It
homes?
would be between you're looking at those triangular structures, those are part of the office complex, and the homes immediately to the west along 14 Mile,
Okay.
which is
so-
a fairly new subdivision.
So that's an existing vinyl fence there now.
There is an existing vinyl fence.
So where is the masonry wall that is collapsed? Where does that
Go.
begin and end?
That is on the south side of that property that we were just looking at, and this is more of a blow-up of that area.
Okay.
It's 40 feet in from the property boundary. So
Okay.
40 feet to the north of the southernmost property boundary.
Okay. And how high of a wall was that masonry wall?
6 feet,
That was 6 feet.
yes.
Okay. So so if this were to be made, again, a vinyl fence on the south side, it then would run into the existing vinyl fence that's coming down that's running north to south?
Yes,
Okay.
yes.
Okay, thank you. Ms.
Yes,
Bulwer?
Yes. Did the residents' complaint initiate this new business item?
The resident's complaint initiated the enforcement
Enforcement,
of the
okay.
wall.
And so our normal practice is when a resident sends us communication or we need to respond back to that person?
Yes,
Is that our normal policy?
yes.
Because he's saying that he initiated the action, but he never received anything from the city saying what we were doing and,
I will follow up with
yeah,
staff on that.
yeah. So I think it's important that when a resident either calls in or write in, that we respond to that person regardless of what else may be occurring at the same time, because we made some assumptions that the homeowners association was going to get back to the residents in that community. And many times the homeowners associations may or may not be active. There are some that are just not, they're in name, but they're not any activity that's going on. But I would suggest in the future that when a resident sends a letter or starts a complaint, that we owe that person a response.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I have a question. So the properties that will be affected, how many properties would be abutting the wall versus this fence?
Let me see if I can get that one in there. It looks like 3 would be immediately impacted, potentially just 2.
These two?
You can see the green lines are the property boundaries to the south.
Okay.
This is all final coming down.
What is the existing color, or the color of the existing fence, the vinyl fence that's there now on the west side?
It's white.
It's white.
That's just a wet property.
I'm assuming the old masonry wall was kind of a darker brownish earth tone kind of
What color
color.
did you have before? Like a brown, brownish red?
I'm not a fan of vinyl fences around this kind of development, and I'm not a fan of a bright white vinyl fence being in that area. It's kind of a wooded residential or boundary between residential and office. I think that kind of really stands out in a stark kind of way. Can we, Mr. Joppett, can we put into this motion a specific color, or can we modify it that way and put something in there like that?
Well, you're the chair, yes. You would be denying this at this point because the concept that's been proposed and agreed to by the office complex and also the homeowners association is a fence of the same color as the existing fence along the other property line. So we would have to go back and discuss this and reopen negotiations. But I can't, if that's your decision, that is certainly within your purview.
You also have a extensive vegetative buffer between where that new fence replacement for the wall would be located, from them to where the property line is for the homeowners association. There's a fairly extensive vegetation buffer through there, from what I understand.
Okay. Yeah, I'm just not a fan of the vinyl fence in this kind of a situation, especially a bright white vinyl fence.
It would be most visible on the office side of the property.
Okay, all right. And Dr. Massey?
I have a motion.
Okay, go ahead.
I would move to approve and authorize the city manager and the city attorney to sign on behalf of the city the stipulation in order to amend consent judgment and submit same to the court for entry in the case of Pineview Office Center Association, successor to Robert and Carol Chapa versus City of Farmington Hills, successor to the Township of Farmington, Oakland County Circuit Court Case 72-83546. Support.
Okay, so we have a motion by Dr. Massey, supported by Mr. Bridges. Any other discussion?
Just, if I could, just a
Yes,
quick.
Dr. Massey.
And given I'm comfortable with this, I understand the frustrations in communication with the HOA, but historically, your homeowners associations do play a very important role in the communication with the city and encourage that people get more involved in that. In fact, Council of Homeowners is meeting here on Wednesday night. That said, the other issue is that given the length of fence from 14 Mile down, I understand the color differences and it's going to look a little different. The consistency between the two and that both the HOA and the other party, the office center, have agreed to that. I'm comfortable with it.
Okay.
Thank you.
Any other discussion?
I've got a question. There's a big difference in sound between a fence and maybe even a wall that was partially there. Are we concerned about any sound difference coming from the office to the residence, fence versus wall?
Not necessarily, and you do have an extra foot of height between the office complex and the homeowners with the proposed fence rather than wall. You get an extra foot on that, and there shouldn't be a drastic increase or change from sound for one or the other.
Okay. I'm just concerned why we decided there was a wall way back when, but now we're going for a fence. I mean, there's a big difference between the two.
There is, and materials have changed since that time in 1972. I believe fencing materials were not quite as diverse as what we currently have available. And as far as maintenance goes also, fencing in 1972 might not have been quite as easily maintained as a whole.
Any other discussion? All right. All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed? Okay, it passes 4-1. Thank you very much. And that we have come to the end of our agenda, unless there's any comment on the attorney's report?
No comments.
Okay, very good. So then we'll need a motion to adjourn.
So moved, Mayor.
Second.
Mr. Bridges, seconded by Dr. Massey. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Passes. Good night, Farmington Hills.